Welcome everyone to our new Hatters and your families. We're so excited to meet you in this virtual environment today so we can talk to you a little bit about some things that are happening logistically at Stetson and how excited we are to have you join the Hatter Nation with us in the fall. So we get a treat today that we are going to be welcomed by our president. So I'll hand it over to Dr. Wendy Libby.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hancock. Well, welcome to our new students and your parents. It is such a pleasure to see you. I saw you from a distance at so many of our open houses over the last couple of years, but to have you brought together, albeit in this virtual way, in expectation of physically being here with us in August is just a real treat. You may know that I'm retiring, but I want you to know that despite the fact that I will no longer be your president June 30th, my husband and I are staying in town, so we'll be able to interact with you. And we will be welcoming Dr. Chris Rolke, our wonderful new president, who's joining us July 1st. I've had time to spend with him. He is passionate about higher education. He is passionate about student learning and student life. And I think you will love being around him. He will support you in everything you do. It's been a very unusual time for all of us across the world and in the United States, in Florida and right here on campus. We've been dealing with the pandemic, which I know disrupted your graduation from high school, and our heart was really sad for you about that. We've been working hard here every day to make sure you have a great college experience, great education, and a wonderful time with us that leads you to the careers you want, a job at the end of your time here, or entry into graduate school. This is a safe environment. It is safe physically, and we're working to make sure that we put your health and your welfare above all of the choices we make. We know too that in large measure you have chosen Stetson not only for our great faculty and our student life, but also for the values that are critical and part of our DNA. These include personal and intellectual growth and global engagement, but at our core is social justice. It's hardwired and hard-baked into who we are. And diversity and inclusion are what we are passionate about. We are passionate to work for the very best of the people who are part of our university community. We have been heartbroken, we have had outrage, and we have felt sadness over the killing of George Floyd. It has galvanized our community. It has reminded us that we owe it to everyone who is here, that racism has no place in this community, that Black Lives Matter. DeLand just this week has had 2 peaceful marches, hundreds of people, many our own staff with their families, coming out and saying there is no place for racism here. So I want you to understand the kind of love and grace you will find. We are committed to lifting up everyone for the gifts those people bring to our university and our community, and we look forward to having you be part of us. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Libby. And we're excited to be able to share with you a little bit of our panelists today. I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint here. Sorry, that's just going to take me 1 second. I always have a technological moment. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about how, and to Dr. Libby's point, these are some slides that we just wanted to show some images from the peaceful protest in DeLand this week. I attended them with my children, and one of the organizers is actually one of our on-campus chaplains, the person holding the megaphone, Dimitri, and we also work very closely with the chief of police, who is extremely committed to racial and social justice, Chief Umberger, and they work together on this event. So this is a few images of the event that just took place a couple days ago. So for today's session, I want to just talk a little bit about logistics. Your audio and video have been muted during this because of the number of participants. However, you are free to submit a question on the control panel located on the right side of your screen. So feel free to ask questions there if you'd like. Just talk a little bit generally before we go into the panelists about the work we've been doing at Stetson. As Dr. Libby shared, we've been working extremely hard to make sure that we are safe and ready to go for the fall. I've learned a lot about everything like cleaning spaces and UV lights and air conditioning so that we can get ready for you to be with us. Some of those decisions we've been able to make fairly quickly, and some of them have taken more time. So we appreciate your grace with us as an incoming student community as we determine what is going to be the best path forward. So with that, we have a couple different groups who have been working. One of them is the Safer Stetson Task Force, and this is just a semblance of who that group is. One of the co-chairs, our Dean of Students, Lynn Schoenberg, is on the panel today and can answer any of your questions regarding health and safety and where we are in our decision-making process. But as you can see, faculty, staff, students, leaders are working hard to make these decisions. We've worked very closely with student government, who's been making a lot of these decisions with us as well. I'll also mention another one of our committees that's been meeting is a budget committee, and we've been looking a lot at making sure that we're ready with all the finances of the institution. So all that to mention that we are just making sure that we are completely ready to serve you in this new environment. And that is going to mean some changes. I'm sure you would imagine that orientation is not going to look the same as it's always looked. But one of our key things that we believe in here at Stetson is building community. So we're going to find ways to do that with you. We're all just going to have to be a little more creative. So that's what's going to happen this semester. So at this point, I'd like to invite all the panelists are going to turn on their video, and we're going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves. And then as we go along, they'll share a little bit more. But part of today is about you and your questions. So we're going to leave plenty of time at the end for you to put things in the chat so that you can go ahead and ask us those questions. So at this time, we'll go ahead and let the panelists introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. So great to be here with all of you. I'm your Dean of Students, Lynn Schoenberg.
Hello, I'm Dr. Larry Correll Hughes. I'm the Executive Director for Residential Living and Learning and also serve as Assistant Vice President for Campus Life and Student Success.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Dana Dalbo. I'm the Director of Campus Visitation here in the Office of Admissions.
Brian, we can't hear you. Brian.
Hello.
Yes,
my name is Brian Nystrom. I'm the Assistant Coordinator for Focus Orientation, and I'm also the Shadow Captain for Student Ambassadors.
And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Noel Painter, Executive Vice President and Provost. I'll admit that when I got this job and used the word provostial with my dad, he thought that I was making that word up. Indeed, provostial is a real word. And what I do in this position is I work with your deans and your associate deans, your faculty and your advisors, and Dr. Hancock to help make the best learning experience that you can have once you come to Stetson. So one thing that I would say from the outset is for all the people who I just mentioned that have been so engaged through this process of a different kind of spring, planning for a vibrant summer, and bringing us back to as best a sense of normalcy for your education in the fall as is possible. Your faculty have been so engaged. Your staff around Stetson have been so engaged. Your deans and other administrators have really tried hard, are continuing to try hard every day, sometimes at a feverish pace to work for you. So you have the experience that you can be proud of that matches your expectations for the beginning of your college work. We're excited for you, and I'm excited to see how things continue to form. I will mention two aspects of the coming semester. So one, it was great when we turned our attention away from solving the problems of the spring semester to planning for summer. And with so many changes this summer, not having face-to-face classes, fewer opportunities for internships, less opportunities for international experiences, we really didn't know what to expect. But with all of the different ways in which many of us around the campus have engaged in building a summer, we actually have the most vibrant summer sessions that I'd say Stetson has ever had right now. And 2 of them I think are particularly relevant to you. We have a short 3.5-week summer session 3, and a longer 6-week summer session 4. Summer session 4 being offered for the very first time and really just for you. We are trying to give you opportunities to start your academic journey at Stetson a little earlier in some way that matches your schedule through either a short 3.5-week term or a 6-week term. And we feel so powerfully about it that we're giving each incoming first-time in college or transfer student a special one-time $1,000 scholarship toward one of those classes in summer session 3 and summer session 4. And in addition to that, we have a number of faculty and some staff who are offering 0 credit engagement experiences on really interesting topics. And those can be, 1 or 2 day seminars for no cost whatsoever throughout the College of Arts and Science and School of Business, some really neat music activities, even some clubs that are born out of our library. So there are a lot of ways for you to make your summer purposeful and to have a really powerful start before the fall semester even begins. Specifically to the fall semester, there's a lot of preparation that's going into our figuring out how to have the fall semester occur in a way that maximizes what Stetson is just simply great at. And that's face-to-face education with a personal advisor who becomes your mentor for your entire time at Stetson. And that requires an interaction that is left incomplete by fully online instruction. So we are working hard to maximize the ways in which we can have that face-to-face instruction. Therefore, on all of our campuses, we've established some working groups to really put forward solutions to some of the problems that we see. Right now, we have 3 working groups specifically in the academic affairs and campus life and student success area at Stetson DeLand for undergraduates that are solving problems around academic calendar. When does the semester begin? When will the semester end? What do we do with fall break? All those kinds of things. A second working group is about policies, and are there academic policies that need to be created or adjusted for the kind of learning environment that we'll face in the fall semester? And third, very, very importantly, is how do we have safe, socially distant, face-to-face education on this campus? And there are a lot of pieces that come into play there that are everything from measuring classrooms to figuring out schedules. And all of the work of those groups are connected to one another. I'd say we're making great headway at a very rapid pace and with an aggressive timetable so that by hopefully the middle of June, but certainly by the end of June, you have questions to a number of those things that I know you're asking about. I'm sure that throughout today's webinar, we can give you an idea of the direction that a lot of those things are going and maybe some answers to those specific questions. But I want to assure you that we're making great headway on a lot of those areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noel. We'll go back to Lynn, our Dean of Students, who will share with you a little bit more information about what the Safer Student Task Force is working on.
Thank you. Yes. So first, just so excited about you all as an incoming class. One of my favorite things is actually welcoming our new class. Brian and the focus leaders know that well. Love it so much. And so it's going to be different, but it's still going to be amazing to see what you bring, the gifts that you bring to our community. So we have a very strong health response system that's actually been in place for a while now in our community. Even before COVID-19, we had an infectious disease readiness plan that we have put into action when needed. And so part of that is a great partnership that we have with Advent Health. So Advent Health is one of the major hospital organizations in our region and in the country. And they sponsor the hospital that's right in DeLand. And they actually help as a hybrid our health services clinic that's physically on our campus in a beautiful renovated space. And so we're able to provide more resources and staffing and ability for consultation, testing, specialists because of that great relationship that we have with Advent Health. So we have a board certified physician, a physician's assistant with kids in college of her own that our students just love, Suzanne, a great registered nurse and who's also our coordinator for health service that is helping us with a lot of this task force work right now. So some really great staff that actually can see not only our students on campus, but our faculty and our staff. So that's something that our current students know really well, but I recognize that you all don't know that, that you can feel good that we have a doctor's office right on campus with some really excellent professional staff and connections. And we actually operate like a doctor's office, like your doctor's office back home. So you utilize your health insurance right in our clinic. So we actually tell incoming students to call the number on the back of their health insurance card before they even come to campus and find out, how does your health insurance work at our clinic? So all of that is in place for all of your health needs. In addition, for COVID, anyone in our community can call and have a phone consultation for free and have some basic questions answered, a consultation about whether they should get tested for COVID, about whether they should self-isolate. And we have a great relationship with the local Department of Health that allows us to sort of help you directly instead of having to work with 5 or 6 different people. So that has actually worked out really well. I think we all wish we didn't have to have all those pieces like that in place, but we need to. And so that process is ready for you when you come to campus. So in addition to the health services support, we also want to provide students the support that they need if they think they're sick or exposed in other ways. So, for example, you might need help managing things in the classroom, right? Like you might need help moving to virtual work or working with your professors or associate dean to see what that might look like. So we are ready to do that. We're also ready to help you isolate on campus if that's what you need to do, and I think Larry will probably talk more about that, or help you maybe move home if that's what needs to happen too. So we have a lot of contingencies in place for that, and we're ready to do that as needed. So the task force has been working really hard to figure out all of those logistics. So it's a really great group of people from lots of different areas around campus, different expertise. Dana and Larry are in that group, as well as many others from our College of Law and from our DeLand campus. And just so impressed with how they're really working just to tick off one thing after the other that we just need to figure out to be able to have that great education that Provost Painter talked about in the fall. So I'm going to wait for questions to talk about specifics on some of those things, but we've been working on things like masks, PPE, personal protective equipment, testing, screening, visitors, groups and gatherings, physical distancing policies. So a very, very long list, and I'm happy to answer specifics that we know the answers to now, and also overviews of some of the things that we're still making those decisions about. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll now pass it over to Dr. Larry Carell-Hughes, who will talk a little bit about housing.
Thank you. So we've been very busy making preparations and thinking through what is this fall going to look like and how do we make that happen. So we do know that it will look a little different, but we're working hard to put things into place within the range of CDC recommendations and guidelines to ensure that your time in the residence halls on campus here is safer, but also importantly, is part of a community of connection and belonging, where you know other people and other people know you, where you're supported in your growth and your academic success. That is monumentally important to us. We want you to be safe and healthy but we also want you to be connected to other people because we believe that that is a fundamental part of the residential education here at Stetson. And so it is a most unusual time. We do already know some changes that are going to happen. Check-in is not going to look like it did in the past. I think it will, in some ways, be better. So we are looking at a drive-through curbside check-in for your arrival to campus with specific appointment times that you sign up for. And so that's one of the changes that we're making that honestly I think we might keep for the future, just as a challenge of rethinking how we do things. And so that's one very small thing, well, big thing. We do know that there will be heightened cleaning. As part of our pandemic or infectious disease protocol, when it was determined that this was a pandemic, we automatically escalated what that cleaning looked like, and in March, and then we've done further analysis of how we can improve and increase the safety related to cleaning in the residence halls. We have some things that have already been in place for years, like we have UVC light filters in our air handlers, and we apply microbiocide, which is a fun word to say, to the coils on HVAC units, which is something we've been doing as a proactive measure. But those things are already in place, and we're looking at how to supplement a lot of those things. Thinking about what does the space look like in the room? How does this look like for people sharing a room, and are there modifications that we need to make and think through in that aspect? There's a whole myriad of other things on our list that we're thinking through, and we'll be sharing more and more of that, I believe, in the next few weeks. We do believe it's necessary to send out housing assignments a little later than we have in the last couple of years, and so we may need a little bit more information from you to make some strategic assignments and thinking about how we reduce risk on campus. And so we'll be in communication with you. Watch your Stetson email is the way that we'll communicate that with you, and we'll be in touch with you soon on how all of that is going to look.
Great, thank you so much, Larry, I appreciate it. So now for the greatest panelists of them all, we've invited a student to tell you the real deal about what it's like to be a student here, what he likes about Stetson. So we'll hand it over to Brian.
Thank you. So my name is Brian Dysham, as I said before. So I'm part of the Focus Orientation Program, which is the college orientation that you guys will go through once you get to Stetson. The Focus leaders they'll be helping out with check-in. They'll be helping you out, get to the rooms that you're supposed to be assigned to, FSEMs, and just generally help you get into Stetson. They're definitely going to be the first people that you will meet when you get to Stetson. And overall, it's just a really good experience, just because you get to find out your interests, what organizations you want to be a part of. You get to make friends. Honestly, if it wasn't for Focus, I wouldn't be with the friends I'm with today. So it really just gets you ingrained in that community. So that's something to be very excited for. And then a couple things about Stetson that I love. Obviously, it's a small school. So the difference between that and a big school is I get to wake up every morning and go to class and know and talk to everyone I see on the way there. Which is a very nice experience. So instead of just walking past a bunch of strangers, you get to talk to all of your friends, which is just amazing. Overall, my favorite thing about Stetson, there's a lot to choose from, but in the time allotted, definitely the community. Because as said before, you know everybody as soon as you start getting ingrained on campus. And everyone's your friend. I don't know anyone at Stetson that I don't really want to talk to. Faculty and staff, they're amazing. They want to help you out in any way possible. Another benefit of going to a small campus is a lot of the faculty and staff, they come to Stetson because they want to talk to you. They don't want to just ignore all the students. They work here because they want that personalized experience as well. And then just a piece of advice that I would give to you guys when you come in. Obviously, when I got to college, and I can say this for pretty much everyone, it was a pretty tough experience just because you're on your own for probably the first time. It's very difficult in that sense. But I will say, put yourself out there, join organizations. Stetson gives you so many opportunities. So study abroad opportunities, internship opportunities, leadership opportunities, they're all there for you. So those are all just the amazing things about Stetson.
Awesome. So yeah, I would agree with a lot of that. And like Larry mentioned, the residence halls and the clubs and orgs, the classes, the first year seminars, all of that is on purpose. Like we set this up in such a way that we know that you guys want community, you want learning, you want connection with other people. And really, one of the things we pride ourselves on is for most people, this 4 years will be the most diverse learning environment you will ever have. You will be with people of all different religions, backgrounds, races, socioeconomic statuses. And why that matters, besides just the fact that it makes you a good person to get to know other humans, is that it makes your learning better. Whatever you're learning in your field will be better because of the diverse voices that are going to be in the classroom with you. You'll be more prepared for the global economy. So it really is a great place, like Brian was sharing with the smaller connections. They're great because of how they make us feel. But actually, another thing I love about them is they're great because of how they make us learn. So that's something I see when students graduate, that they're more ready for the market than they might even realize. So last, we'll pass it over to Dana, and she'll talk a little bit about admissions. And then keep your questions coming in because I'm making note of them. And as soon as Dana finishes, we'll chat a little bit with all of you about the questions that you're asking.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lua. Here in the Office of Admissions, we have a lot of opportunities for you to engage with Stetson, our current students, our faculty, and our staff this summer. So we want you to take advantage to start engaging, building your connections, building your sense of community before you even arrive in August. So Lua, can you share the PowerPoint slide, the fast track for me, please? We have a few dates coming up, 5 dates specifically, over the next 2 months in June and July for you to engage with other incoming students, faculty, staff, and even knock out your first cultural credit before you even arrive in August. These dates for our fast track days will be June 12th, June 19th, June 26th, July 10th, and July 17th. These dates you're able to register online. The day is from 1 to 3:30. You'll have a breakout session where you have an opportunity to connect with your new Hatter advisor who will help you in regards to selecting your first round of classes here for the university and for your first semester. You'll learn about housing and student life. There's faculty panels, student panels. Actually, Brian is one of our panelists coming up on June 12th, so you'll see him again. Learn more about financial aid, and then you have an opportunity to connect and earn your first cultural credit through one of 3 sessions that you're able to register and attend. So definitely something that you should take advantage of, sign up for. It's a great learning opportunity. But we also have additional opportunities through Stetson Live events, and just as Provost Painter had mentioned, the summer engagement experiences that are non-credit opportunities for you to connect with our faculty and other incoming students. Some of these sessions include cyber hacking, learning more about studying abroad, and you even have opportunities to be coached by a faculty member on building trust and relationships through the sales process. So there's a lot of engaging topics, there's between 15 and 17 of them for you to join and to learn more about. But take this time this summer to start building that sense of community and also have a purposeful summer, just as our current Hatters are doing from their homes as well. And we're really looking forward to having you join us. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention, we're really excited. Starting next week, we will be offering small campus visit opportunities at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock daily, Monday through Friday. These visits are capped at 9 total guests per visit to make sure that we are still thinking about the health and safety of our current students, faculty, staff, and guests visiting us. So please go online and sign up. We are here and we are so excited to see you here in August, but also potentially sooner.
Yes, thank you, Dana, for sharing that. And I would say, so for our returning students as well, many of them indicated to us, and I'm sure this happened to many of you, summer internships, summer jobs, summer travel, things that you had planned didn't exactly work out for many people. So this pivot on how to have a purposeful summer is something we've been joking about, like, but certainly we are offering classes, workshops for our returning students. We're offering career appointments. A bunch of clubs and orgs are still having events. We're having online Madden tournaments. There's online workout classes. So there's plenty of ways for you to get engaged with our campus. So let's take it to a few of the questions. Dr. Painter, we'll start with you because there's been a little grouping of questions around the academic calendar. And do we still expect it to start? Would move-in still be on the day that it's going to be, which is the day before orientation on August 18th? So there's some questions about the academic calendar, if you could start there.
Certainly, and that is really the $64,000 question, or maybe in the days of Jeff Bezos, the $64 bajillion question. The question as I read on here is move-in still August the 14th and 15th? And I'd say that we are narrowing in on a firm answer to that, but I'll give you some probabilities. I'd say there's a lot of conversation about how the semester ends, and obviously when the semester ends is a big determining factor in when the semester begins. Many institutions are choosing to have the face-to-face instruction aspect end at Thanksgiving, so students are not going away and faculty and staff are not going away and coming back to campus. So then there's strong consideration of advancing the semester so that classes in the fall semester and exams in the fall semester potentially even end around Thanksgiving. So I say that to let you know that if the academic calendar stays much like it is right now, then we are likely to have a start date that's much like it is right now. If we end up moving the end of the semester up closer to Thanksgiving, then I think that you can anticipate a move-in date that's about a week sooner than we currently have published. And then there's the possibility that the semester could be compressed as well by removing things like fall break and moving Values Day to the spring, which could actually give us a later start. If I was to give you my level of guessing about probabilities, I think the most probable solution is an earlier start, and the least probability is a later start. So it's going to be around that time in August. But I don't think that you should leave out of your planning the potential of having everything moved closer to where we are now by a week. There's also a question, if you don't mind me answering this, Dr. Hancock, about, let me see if I can find it real quick. Online classes for freshmen from a dorm room or from home if classes cannot begin on a certain date. And I'm a little less concerned about when classes begin, but as opposed to the various scenarios that will need to be accommodating during a semester. I mean, we still have international travel bans, and we have a good cohort of students who live internationally right now. We have students that are going to need to self-isolate, even though they feel just fine, because we're doing the protective measures that are required of the bodies that are giving us advice. So we are really aware of the need to make sure that we can move into and out of this virtual learning and face-to-face learning in a nimble way. Another benefit of being a smaller institution. So actually, that's really part of the work of that socially distanced face-to-face education working group that I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks. They are preparing us. They are studying what it takes for us to be prepared to have that nimble move into and out of virtual education, so that people who have to move out of it because of self-isolation, because of travel, because of whatever reason, are able to continue their progress in all of their classes.
Well, and to that point, I'll also share, similar to what Dr. Painter, we know that some people are coming from places where they will have to self-isolate, even if they're totally feeling healthy. And so we're committed to letting those students come early if they want to and self-isolate before they start within their athletic program or ROTC or their classes, so that time period. So we're willing to work with them, and there'll be more information coming out. What we've been really committing to it as an institution is trying to make decisions at least 8 weeks in advance to give you plenty of time. So 8 weeks before the term starts is in the next like 10 days or so. So you'll be seeing information that's more committal from the institution about start dates, about type of formats, that kind of thing. But we're doing everything we can to keep it as safe as possible, which is what Dr. Painter mentioned, why many schools are ending earlier. And cutting out different breaks, is that travel is one of the riskiest things. When people leave our community and come back into our community, you bring all the germs with you. So the goal is to reduce travel as much as possible. There's also a question of, are we following the CDC guidelines even though we're a private institution? And the answer is absolutely yes. There were a couple links that were put into the chat if you really want to read them. They're the guidelines that we're following for higher education from both the CDC and a group called ACHA on what we do as far as everything from social distancing to gyms to everything. So yes, we are following the guidelines, definitely. So I also will mention there's a couple questions about athletics and ROTC. So they do usually start slightly before, depending on your sport, slightly before the rest of the semester, and that will still be true. So as soon as we announce the check-in date, you will receive information from both athletics and from ROTC, I'm sure, talking about their check-in date, which might be a little earlier than that. And we've been actively working with them this week, today. We were emailing back and forth with ROTC. So that is all within the works. So I'll kick over some questions, if I could, to you, Dean Schoenberg. One of the questions is, what would happen if there was another spike in cases, or if around us locally there were more cases? And another question is, particularly, what happens if a student who is potentially a residential student was to test positive for COVID?
Absolutely. So in regards to the first question, all of our planning takes into account that we will have to regularly know what's going on in our local DeLand community and in Volusia County. And we do that by that strong relationship with the Department of Health. So if the Department of Health or Advent Health, our hospital partner, is worried about a particular surge or new wave, they're going to let us know. And I know that because there was a period of time when they were worried about that earlier in this situation, and we made plans for what that would look like. We're really lucky that it didn't happen that way, but I've seen what their plan looks like for if it would, and it's really strong, and we fit directly into that. So we actually have a system we're calling the tiers system, and we're still working out some of the details. What we love about it is that it lets us move up and down in our response efforts based on what's going on campus, in Volusia County, in DeLand. And so there are some things that we're going to need to do to mitigate health concern, basically from when we come to campus till Labor Day, because as Dr. Hancock mentioned, that's a period of time that we're really worried about all the germs that are coming in. And then if things are looking good, then we have the ability to take some of those mitigations and means kind of down a notch, for lack of a better term. We can lessen some of those restrictions. And so we're going to be prepared at any point in time to either move up or down in that continuum of how we respond. Because what I've learned from the public health folks and the epidemiologists and from the ACHA, American College Health Association, the CDC, is that, one effort doesn't have much impact, but when you try 4 or 5 different levers, when you talk about masks, when you talk about physical distancing, when you talk about how many people can be in our dining room at one time, when you move all of those levers, that's when you can really have an impact on the overall community health. So we will absolutely respond if and when there is another wave of increase of illness in either our immediate community or our surrounding community. The question about whether if a student tests positive, we do have a written response for that, which is on our website. So I encourage you to take a look at that if you haven't. But we are committed to letting our community know if a community member tests positive. Right, that's a student, staff, or a faculty member. We also need to protect that person's individual health information and their identity. But from a community perspective, we're going to let you know, and we're going to take whatever means we need to, according to the Department of Health lead, to notify people who might have been exposed, and to help them figure out what that means for their health, and to deep clean or close areas of campus if we need to, again, from the Department of Health lead. in response to that.
Great, thank you so much. And there was a couple questions I'll answer real quick, and then we'll go to Larry to answer a little group of housing questions. One was regard to our accommodations made for people who have post-traumatic stress, and I'll answer that in a more general than just post-traumatic stress. We have been in the process forever of making accommodations for those who need them. So there are in-class and in residence accommodations for people who have diagnosed disorders, and we'll continue to do that. So there are students who, for example, have an autoimmune deficiency, which would make it challenging for them to participate in person at all on campus at this time. And we just need you to let us know, to raise your hand, to tell us what's going on through our accommodations process. We can go ahead and make sure that we can meet all those needs. And we have worked with students with post-traumatic stress before, and we're happy to do that again. Additionally, if you have a diagnosed need or not, student counseling is available, and it's available even regardless of again, modality that we're in. Right now, we're doing some telecounseling, some telehealth, some in-person, and there is a 24-hour hotline as well for Stetson students. So we know this is an extremely stressful time for some people, and coming back to campus, coming to college, sometimes the transition of that can cause some excitement and also some anxiety. And in this day, maybe both of those are even a little bigger. So we want to make sure that we're supporting students there. So Larry, there was some questions about, people were very excited, as are we, about some of the early deposit decisions that we made. So there's a question about if those first 500 students are still going to be able to pick their room, and if you have an idea when the dates might be, and if they're still going to be able to pick their roommates, those type of questions. And then I'll ask you a couple more housing questions that are.
Sure. So as I said earlier, our normal, the last couple of years, we've been able to release most first-year housing assignments in mid-June. We have decided, based on everything that is still being decided and firmed up plans, that we will aim for mid-July, which is when we did it historically. We were excited about the idea of doing self-selection of rooms for first-year students. Many of our returning students do that every year in March, go online and select their own rooms. Not all, but many do. And there's some really cool benefits of being able to do that. We are really thinking through how to lower risk factors across our campus. And so one of the things that we're really thinking about right now, have not made a firm decision on, is whether or not that allows for that self-selection at this time. If we decide not to do that, we will honor that commitment in some way, potentially with a boost to your room selection priority for the following year, which Brian can probably tell you would be of great value. I think he would affirm that. That self-selection for your sophomore year is key. So we're still honing in on what that would be. It does look like our confidence level is rising, as Provost Painter said, about the academic calendar, about being able to have roommates. And so I think you'll be seeing some information about that, but if you have preferred roommates, we'll work with that information as well. So
Absolutely, and again, we'll speak to the fact that you did not deposit at some huge state institution. So if you have a question, email, call the housing office and tell them, hey, this is the person I really wanted to be my roommate, and we'll figure a way to work that out with you as much as possible. So please just reach out.
And so your housing applications are still live, and you can go and make and change your roommate groups right now. They just have to be a mutual match. I would encourage you to go ahead and have some conversations with them about their thoughts and approaches to living in this COVID environment, about cleanliness and health, and how seriously they do and don't take that. You may have known someone since kindergarten, but you have very different thoughts about what this living together is going to look like in this type of environment, that may cause you to decide to do something different. And that's okay. You just need to talk to them and go online and change that roommate preference. But I do encourage you to make sure you have those conversations. And if you decide to not be roommates, always tell them.
So Larry, there's a couple questions about the beloved animals in our community. So people want to know, can they still bring their pets? Is this going to be impacted? You know, if they came here, they want to do animal friendly housing, how is that going to be impacted or not?
Sure. So we do have animal friendly housing. It's hosted in University Hall where our offices are. And we do have some limitations on numbers every year. I don't perceive that this will be a drastic reduction on the opportunity to bring pets. So if you have not applied to bring the pet, you should go ahead and do so soon. So.
Great. So I'll answer another question and then we'll take a few more questions over to Noel again. There was a question about if people on campus are required to wear masks. And although the Safer Stetson Task Force is still making the final decision, really, if you're in an area where there's going to be a lot of people, we are going to either highly recommend or require in those spaces that you are wearing masks. And when you're in an area where you're more individualized by yourself studying or in your room, or I'm in my office and you can distance yourself, then, again, that's your choice. So there's still some decisions made about in which spaces it might be a requirement versus something that we highly recommend. But I will tell you from looking at the CDC guidelines that on campus, as much as possible, especially in shared spaces, we're going to recommend that. And we are going to provide a mask when needed. And we also have some guidance for you about what you need to bring with you. So we'll be providing with you a guide that we recommend that you bring these things all the time, but especially now, your own cleaning supplies, your own thermometer, just some things that you would want to have for yourself to be able to check your own temperature and clean your own area and have a couple different washable masks and those type of things. So that's what we would recommend there. There was a couple questions. Noel, one of them was, am I going to be able to come on campus and see my student in the orchestra? This is a question close, near and dear to Noel's heart in the music school. And another question was, what is the online academic support going to look like? And if I'm going to struggle in an academic environment, can I just come in the spring instead of the fall?
So I'll take those in reverse order, I think. You see 3 people on the screen in front of you whose names begin with the letter L, and they all are part of the same campus life and student success area of the institution. Apparently, if your name starts with the letter L, we've got a job for you. So Linda, Lonnie, Letitia, come on. No, I'm just kidding. I say that because those people whose names start with the letter L are part of such an expert group. If we have high standards for you for academic success, we have to support you in a really great way to achieve those standards. It's not good enough for us to say, yeah, here's the bar, make sure you get there, see you later. If we're going to say the bar is right here or right here or right here, then we're going to boost you to get to that point. And part of that is the way in which residential living becomes part of the academic journey. Part of that is how accommodations are managed for those who need accommodations, issues that we've already raised. And so, part of the value of a Stetson education, part of what you pay for, when you're coming to Stetson for face-to-face learning, for virtual learning, this didn't stop in the spring, is all of the support structures that are undergirding the academic activities that go on around here. So the answer to your question is a resounding yes. Whether you're struggling with online or hybrid learning materials, whether you're struggling in classes, whether you're great in this area but you just can't figure out this lab, if you're coming in pre-med and you find out chemistry is just really not for you, Campus Life and Student Success are there to make sure that that support is there for you. And so I think the answer is one that you'll be very, very pleased with in your experience at Stetson. The other one about orchestras and bands and choirs and things like that is not solely just about music ensembles. There are a lot of things that involve large gatherings of people, and that can be everything from, having orchestra concerts where we accommodate 660, 650 people in Elizabeth Hall Auditorium, to a basketball game, being in that crowd, to theater performances, to 150 people in a room for Entrepreneurship Thursday, to Roland George. We have a lot of ways that we bring people together. And in the same way that Dr. Hancock was referring to the guidance that we're kind of waiting to see how there's either strong recommendations or requirements for wearing masks in some spaces, we're still also waiting for guidance on how we bring large groups together. We're making these decisions. We're getting that guidance based on the highest priority of safety, and also recognizing that there are these things that are important to our experience. Specifically for music, I'd say there's the benefit that for now, I think 6 years, we've been live streaming performances in Elizabeth Hall, both guest performances, student senior recitals, orchestra performances. So there's absolutely going to be access to those things. The way in which in-person attendance at those concerts is going to occur has yet to be written.
Thank you so much. Dana, if I wanted to come to campus for one of the visitations, how do I do that? How do I sign up? Where do I park? Tell me how to.
Awesome. So you're able to just call our office and we're able to get you signed up over the phone. You're able to shoot an email to your admissions recruiter directly, or you can visit stetson.edu/visiting, and campus visits, daily visits are the first thing that you'll see there. We are offering visits Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. You'll spend about 2 hours on campus. You're not able to stay just yet. You'll have to come back because we know that you'll want to spend more time with us. But there's a lot of things that you can also see while you're in town. You can go downtown, which is about 3 blocks away, grab a snack or a bite to eat at one of our local favorite restaurants, explore all the trinket shops and do a little shopping, and then maybe head over to New Smyrna or Daytona Beach to catch some rays. So there's a lot that you could do as you're planning your visits, and we're here to help and accommodate them. We're also working on some Saturday visits, knowing that families are going back to work. We want to make sure that we're accommodating to times that work for you and your families.
Great. And I'll answer a question that just came in because it has an easy answer. Will there be more hand sanitizers on campus? Yes, there'll be hand sanitizers everywhere. I challenge you to walk more than 10 feet without hitting up a hand sanitizer. So yes, there will be lots of hand sanitizer stations and little giveaways and things like that around campus as far as hand sanitizers. So that will certainly be there. On a more serious note, there was a question regarding tuition and finance, because we understand for many of our families that the commitment that you're making to Stetson is a large financial commitment for you for this type of education. And what I would tell you is that the vast majority of where your dollars go when you pay tuition is to pay faculty, staff, and instructional costs. That's where that goes. And so far, we feel really lucky as an institution that we have not had to make a lot of financial decisions that impact our staff. We need them right now. Everybody is working overtime. The staff are working, the faculty are working, everybody's working for example, like Dr. Painter mentioned, these summer sessions that are even more turned up than we normally have. So at this point, without laying people off or reducing staff, the tuition has continued in the same way that it normally has. However, I will mention that we have gotten between some of the federal money and some very, very generous donations from our alumni, and honestly from our own Student Government Association and the Law Student Government Association. We have a COVID relief fund that we've been funding for some of our students who have additional need. That's been amazing. So we certainly work with all of our students as much as possible on their financial needs as well. And if you have more financial questions, type them in, and we have someone from financial aid who can help out answering some of those as well. I also wanted to kick it over to Larry. To Lynn. There were 2 questions. Lynn, one of them is, what about the gym? So I am a gym rat. I'm in the Hollis Center often. I teach spin in the Hollis Center, so I'm there quite often at the gym. And I've switched to my at-home garage workouts. Plus, if you want, you can take yoga with me online. I have some yoga class online right now. So it's been an adjustment, but I do miss the gym. So I respect the gym question. So we have that question as well. And then the other question we have, Lynn, is about if and how we will be holding sorority work.
Absolutely. I love both those questions so much because that means you're already wanting to engage and get involved in those ways. So we are absolutely going to reopen our gym, but we are going to have to do that in a safe way. And so like so many of the other things and like recruitment, it's going to happen, but it's going to look really different. So in terms of the gym, we have a great professional association that we've been able to tap into. And so specific things that we're talking through, requiring that people wipe their station before every use, having limitations of how many people can be in each of the rooms. We're actually lucky in this way that our gym is broken into rooms, and so our ability to have a certain number of people in each of those rooms will actually help us be able to have more people in total use the space safely. We're going to have to not use our lockers that we usually have available for folks. We're going to have to really look at our group fitness classes. There's recommendations out about some of those being a little bit more risky than others, right? So when people are huffing and puffing, that act of huffing and puffing and using a lot of air and expending it, like when you're running, is the concern. So we're going to space out our equipment. We've got actually some exciting things that we're going to be able to do in that regard. And we're going to look at every single aspect of that gym and make it as safe as it possibly can be. And then again, we hope that we can open to a higher level of engagement and involvement as things evolve. So sorority recruitment, our amazing Greek advisor, Renee, is doing wonderful things for both sorority and fraternity recruitment, looking at how a lot of it can be virtual, thinking about, do we need to move it a little bit later so that things feel a little bit more comfortable to us? How do we make sure we're not rotating or we're minimizing the amount of people we need to rotate through spaces? So we're going to have it. It's happening. It's just going to happen differently. So we're still excited that we'll be able to offer you that opportunity.
So we are so excited, like Lynn said, that you're so engaged and you have all these questions. We're not going to be able to answer all of them today, but we are committed to answering every single one. So we will answer them and post them online in our comments. I'm going to kick one more question to a panelist, and then I'll just make a quick closing statement. So we'll just wrap up here in the next few minutes. There was a question, Brian, about how focus changes. What does focus look like? So, you know, not to the level of detail, but if you could give a little closing thoughts about what students might have to look forward to for focus.
Yeah, so focus orientation, it will happen. I'm not on like the committee, excuse me, I'm not on the committee obviously that, you know, talks about these things and makes final decisions. But definitely with recent events, you know, the pandemic and such, like class meetings, for example, where we pack the entire class into the admin center for a presentation, that's something that's not going to happen. But we are finding ways around this, and it definitely will be a nice orientation.
Yeah,
we're not going to, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're not going to leave anything out that would benefit you that other people have gotten in the past. So you're still going to get the same experience. It's just going to be in a different matter.
Absolutely. I would say Larry mentioned this before with check-in, is that it's forced us to be really creative and think about our check-in and our orientation in a different way. And some of those will be a one-time thing that we just have to adjust for now. And some of them will be things that we might keep going forward because they're going to be more efficient and work. We will also have some online parent orientation. It's going to be slightly different as well in the modality, but we are committed to providing a good parent orientation and an ongoing parent communication plan. So I guess the takeaway from today is, as far as our mission, our values, what you're going to get, business as usual. How it looks in the details, not so much as usual, as I'm sure your regular life is like this. So that's what so some of you asked questions about dining, etc. Fill in the blank, same answer. Like, we will have dining, obviously, you will be able to use the commons. The first few weeks, we will let less people in at a time. We're staggering schedules to try to figure out how to get the most people into dining, etc. But definitely, we will make sure that you get orientation, great classes, build community, that you get fed. All of it will happen just a little tweaked from how we've done it in the past. So with that, I just want to thank you guys all for attending. For us, our new Hatters coming into our community is such an exciting time of year, and we appreciate your patience as you work through us. I will tell you for sure from talking to our students who are graduating and have been continuing, who are the last few months missed parts of the Stetson experience, but overall, they just appreciate being a Hatter, and you will too. I promise that you're going to really enjoy what we have to offer, and we will find ways to deliver it to you in the ways that we can, given the situation. So we appreciate you coming. If you have any other questions, please reach out to all of us. We will post this recording as well as some question and answers on the COVID website. Contact your recruiter, and soon you'll hear from your orientation leader. If you need anything at all, we're here for you. Go Hatters.